Ever feel like you're finally fixing your life, and then your old self starts texting you up? You know that moment when you've changed, you've grown, you're becoming everything you wanted to be. And then that familiar voice whispers, "Remember how good chaos felt?" Sun Wukong thought he'd mastered himself. 500 years of reflection, months of disciplined service, a heart that learned to protect instead of destroy. Then he met the one enemy who knew exactly how to break him. Someone who whispered every doubt he'd ever buried. Someone who remembered every shortcut back to the old patterns. Someone who looked exactly like him. This is it, the ultimate test. The moment your worst enemy turns out to be your greatest teacher, and the monkey who once challenged Buddha discovers the truth that changes everything. Because sometimes your final boss isn't hiding in the shadows, it's staring back from the mirror. Ready to face your shadow self? Welcome back to the most epic comeback story ever told. We've followed Sun Wukong through the ultimate transformation. Part 1. The Fall. Pride meets infinite wisdom. Ego gets shattered under a mountain for 500 years. Part 2. The Learning. Centuries of stillness, followed by the slow rebuild of character through service, sacrifice, and that golden circlet that taught him self-control. Now, Part 3. The moment that determines if transformation is real or performance. They're at the gates of India, the journey to the West nearly complete. Those Buddhist scriptures that will bring enlightenment to millions? Within reach. Xuanzang's impossible mission? About to succeed. Everything should be perfect. That's when heaven decided to give Sun Wukong his final exam. Not against demons, not against gods, not against any external enemy. Against himself. Because here's what every spiritual tradition knows. Right before enlightenment, right before you complete the journey, the universe asks one last question. Who are you, really? And sometime, the answer comes wearing your face. Imagine this. They're literally at India's border. Golden temples rise like ancient skyscrapers. The air itself hums with centuries of meditation. Victory tastes like morning incense. Sun Wukong feels good, maybe too good. The circlet hasn't tightened in weeks. Every challenge met with perfect discipline. He's thinking, I've got this whole enlightenment thing figured out. Pride, it's like malware. Even when you think you deleted it, it finds new ways to crash your system. Then the ground starts shaking, not earthquake shaking. This feels personal. Xuanzang stops mid-step. Something's wrong. The energy building around them isn't random. It's connected to Sun Wukong somehow. Before anyone can process what's happening, shadows pool at their feet. Not natural shadows. These move with purpose, with hunger, with the intelligence of something that's been waiting. Out of the darkness steps a figure that makes Sun Wukong's blood freeze, not because it's terrifying, because it's familiar. A demon, tall, lean, with eyes like broken mirrors that reflect every weakness, every buried shame, every 3 a.m. doubt you thought nobody knew about. This demon's basically doing a full therapy session, except his hourly rate is your sanity. The demon's voice hits like a psychological sniper shot, carrying the weight of someone who's been watching, studying, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. This isn't random. This feels like destiny collecting on old debts. The creature circles them with predator patience, like someone who knows the hunt is already over. His words cut precisely where they're designed to, revealing knowledge of thoughts Sun Wukong barely admits to himself. The 3 a.m. doubts. The moments of missing unlimited power. The whispered question. Maybe chaos was easier? How does this thing know about internal battles no one else can see? Xuanzang senses the deeper connection immediately. This isn't some external threat. This is something feeding off internal conflict. Something that claims to be the internal conflict. Sun Wukong grips his staff, ready for the usual fight. Then the truth hits like a cosmic freight train. This demon knows things, private things. The exact words that used to trigger his rage, the precise insults that made him see red. the specific ways to make him feel small. Reality starts warping like a broken screen, truth distorting everything. The demon's grin reveals the truth that stops everyone cold. He's not here to fight Sun Wukong. He is Sun Wukong, the part that's been buried for 500 years. The demon starts to change, and Sun Wukong realizes he's looking at his worst nightmare. Not a monster, himself. Perfect copy. Same golden eyes, same legendary grin, same staff that could support the heavens, same everything. Except this version never spent time under a mountain, never wore a circlet, never learned the difference between power and wisdom. This is Sun Wukong if he'd never been stopped, pure chaos wearing his face. Shadow Wukong's presence hits like meeting your old self at a high school reunion, if your old self could literally reshape reality and had zero interest in catching up. The real Sun Wukong stares at his perfect copy, feels something forgotten. Not shame for what he did, shame for how good it felt. Shadow Wukong's message cuts without mercy, pointing out every limitation, every moment of self-doubt, every compromise with freedom. The shock collar reference for the circlet, the trained monkey comparison, the reminder of when gods used to tremble at their name. Each word lands like psychological warfare, designed by someone who knows exactly which buttons to push. Then comes the show. The 72 transformations cycling in rapid succession. Eagle, dragon, giant, tiny. Basically a cosmic flex-off while delivering a TED Talk on why you should fear me. The performance carries a clear message. Look what we gave up. Look what we used to be capable of. Look how small they've made us. Shadow Wukong's accusations hit their targets, the circlet that still makes him flinch, the human who redefined strength as limitation, the philosophy that convinced him serving others equals finding himself. The transformations get more elaborate, more showing off, more reminders of what unlimited power felt like, when you could reshape reality with pure will, when rules were suggestions for beings too weak to break them. Then Shadow Wukong stops the cosmic display, and for the first time, his voice cracks with something like loneliness. Why won't you remember how good we were together, how safe you felt when nothing could touch us? The vulnerability passes quickly, mask snapping back into place, but the damage is done, for just a moment. The shadow revealed something deeper than arrogance. Fear. Shadow Wukong extends his hand, offering everything. No limits, no masters, no missions that serve everyone except yourself. The temptation isn't power, it's simplicity. Going back to when choices were easy because you only had to please yourself. Sun Wukong reaches toward the circlet. Xuanzang sees the internal war, tries to help. But this battle can't be fought by anyone else. Then the monk does something that changes everything. He doesn't argue, doesn't defend, doesn't convince. He whispers the words that cut through all the noise. I believe in who you choose to be. Not who you were, not who you should be, who you choose to be. Shadow Wukong snarls, desperation creeping in, but there's something about unconditional belief that makes manipulation harder to sustain. Shadow Wukong realizes logical arguments aren't working. Time for emotional warfare. He waves his staff, and suddenly the air fills with images, memories, from everyone else's perspective. It's like your ex showing you Instagram stories of how happy they are without you, except cosmic. The first image shows Sun Wukong's first day serving Xuanzang, but from the monk's viewpoint. The look on Xuanzang's face isn't respect, it's relief. You're not a companion. You're a weapon he finally figured out how to control. The images shift. Conversations between Xuanzang and other pilgrims. Discussions about Sun Wukong's progress. Like he's a personal rehabilitation project. More images cascade, heaven discussing the Sun Wukong problem. Gods placing bets on how long their formation will last. The message is clear. They don't respect your growth. They're relieved you're not a threat. The images show what Sun Wukong fears most, being forgotten, replaced, irrelevant. Shadow Wukong's voice starts breaking, the confident mask slipping as the psychological warfare isn't having the desired effect. I had to become this strong. No one else was going to protect us. No one else cared if we survived. The confession slips out like a wound, finally exposed to air. This isn't just arrogance talking anymore. This is a scared part of himself that took on the burden of keeping them safe when the world wanted to break them. Shadow Wukong pulls out his own circlet, crushes it to glittering dust. This is what freedom looks like. The crushed gold catches light like liberation made visible. Shadow Wukong makes his final offer, everything back. The respect, the fear, the acknowledgement of what they actually are. No more pretending to be grateful for scraps of approval. Sun Wukong stares at the circlet dust, at Xuanzang, at the choice that defines everything. His fingers brush his own circlet, and for one terrifying moment, everyone thinks he's removing it. Instead, he looks at his shadow self with something that stops everything. You're right. Shadow Wukong wasn't expecting agreement, but Sun Wukong continues. You're absolutely right, about all of it, but you're not showing me who I really am. You're showing me who I was, when I was afraid. Shadow Wukong's confidence cracks. Fear doesn't make sense to someone convinced they're pure strength. Sun Wukong stands, walks toward his shadow self, and with each step, something changes. Not aggression, integration. You're not evil, you're scared of being forgotten, scared that change means erasure, scared we never mattered. Shadow Wukong looks confused, like he's never heard compassion for the chaos. I'm not erasing you, I'm giving you something better to protect. What? Purpose. Sun Wukong gestures to Xuanzang, to the mission, to the transformation journey. I'm not rejecting who we were, I'm honoring it by choosing what comes next. This is the ultimate choosing yourself moment, except with more magical staffs and less self-help books. Sun Wukong explains what his shadow can't understand. Service doesn't make them weak, it makes them necessary. Limitations don't make them small, they make them precise. Following the right cause makes them part of something greater. He extends his hand, and his voice carries something Shadow Wukong has never heard before. Understanding. You were never my enemy. You were my protector, the part that kept us alive when the world wanted to break us. Shadow Wukong's eyes fill with something like relief. Do you think I chose to be the one everyone fears? I became this because someone had to keep us safe when nothing else would. I know, and you did. You kept us alive long enough to learn there's another way. The power is still here. The strength is still here. The will that shook heaven. Still here. The difference is, now Sun Wukong knows what it's for. Someone once said,
with great power comes great responsibility.
Turns out, responsibility isn't a burden. It's the thing that makes power meaningful. I was so tired of being the strong one. So tired of being the one who had to fight everything. I know, me too. The moment they touch, light pours from their hands, not to destroy the shadow, but to make it whole. Shadow Wukong dissolves, not into nothing, into integration, into a Sun Wukong who contains both power and wisdom, fire and peace, chaos and control. Like Mara whispering to Siddhartha under the Bodhi tree, the shadow's voice had promised everything except peace. But the middle path isn't between chaos and control. It's walking with both, knowing they're not enemies, but teachers. As Buddha once taught, better to conquer yourself than to win 1,000 battles. And in this moment, Sun Wukong finally understands what victory really means. The circlet glows, cracks, dissolves, not because it's no longer needed, because its job is complete. Xuanzang watches the whole transformation. You didn't defeat your shadow. You embraced it. Sun Wukong turns, smile containing multitudes. Same thing. The air shimmers, and Sun Wukong realizes someone else is there. Has been there. Watching silently. Buddha. How long have you been here? I never left. You were always sitting beside me. You didn't recognize it. They take the final steps into India. The scriptures are retrieved, The impossible mission, complete. The space around them shifts, not into some cosmic throne room, into a simple grove where the Bodhi tree grows, the place where enlightenment was first recognized. Other figures materialize, bodhisattvas, enlightened beings. The cosmic community Sun Wukong once tried to conquer. Across the cosmos, gods who once trembled at his name now bow in recognition. They're not here to judge. They're here to welcome someone home. Buddha speaks to Xuanzang first, acknowledging the completion of the journey, the scriptures that will help so many find peace. Then Buddha turns to Sun Wukong with words that land like coming home. And you have remembered something that can't be taught, who you always were. With a gesture, Buddha reveals the whole journey from cosmic perspective. Every challenge, every test, every moment of growth, all leading to this recognition. You didn't become Buddha today, Wukong. You remembered you always were. The words hit like revelation. Buddhahood is an achievement. It's recognition. Enlightenment isn't somewhere you go. It's where you already are when you stop running from yourself. A simple lotus appears in Buddha's palm, not glowing, not magical, perfect in its simplicity. The lotus represents everything Sun Wukong learned. The mountain didn't create humility. It revealed the stillness that was always there. The circlet didn't create discipline. It revealed the choice that was always his. The shadow didn't create integration. It revealed the wholeness he never lost. The lotus opens, inside infinite space, infinite possibility, infinite peace. The title arrives not as promotion, but as recognition of what was always true. Victorious fighting Buddha. Victory not through conquest, but through the courage to face yourself. Victory over what? The illusion that you were ever separate from what you sought. The cosmic community witnesses, celebrates, welcomes someone who found their way back to themselves. Buddha places the lotus in Sun Wukong's hands. It becomes part of him. Now you help others remember what you remembered. That enlightenment isn't about becoming perfect. It's about becoming whole. The monkey who once challenged Buddha now sits beside him, not through conquest, through recognition. The rebellion was never against me. It was against forgetting your own Buddha nature. Sun Wukong laughs, the sound of someone finally getting the cosmic joke. He tried to escape Buddha's palm, only to discover he was always Buddha's nature. What does a monkey's journey from chaos to enlightenment have to do with your life? Everything. We all have that shadow voice, the one that says, remember when you didn't have all these rules. The one that whispers, maybe life was simpler before you knew better. That voice isn't your enemy, it's your compass, pointing toward the parts of yourself you're afraid to lose while you learn wisdom. Your mountain might be depression that forced stillness, failure that made you reassess everything, loss that cracked you open so light could get in. Your circlet might be therapy, consequences, accountability partners. Whatever teaches you the difference between reacting and responding while you build new patterns. Your shadow might be the voice that says you're not good enough, or too good for this, or that nothing you do matters. Your shadow self is basically your internal hater. But instead of blocking them, you need to understand why they're so pressed. That shadow isn't trying to destroy you. It's trying to protect the parts of yourself you're afraid to lose in the process of growing. The path isn't about silencing that voice. It's about understanding it, loving it, and choosing growth anyway. Sun Wukong didn't become Buddha by defeating his old self. He became Buddha by integrating all of himself, then choosing wisdom. You don't become who you're meant to be by killing who you were. You become who you're meant to be by recognizing that who you're meant to be was always there. Your shadow isn't your enemy, it's your teacher, pointing you home to the Buddha nature that was never actually lost. Sometimes, the longest journey is the one back to who you always were. And maybe the hardest shadow to love is your own reflection. What's your shadow voice saying right now? What old pattern is calling you back? What part of yourself are you trying to defeat instead of integrate? Tell us about your recognition moment, when you realized you weren't becoming someone new. You were remembering who you always were. If this trilogy changed how you see transformation, hit subscribe. We're exploring stories that show the path back to your authentic self. Hit notifications. Next week, we're diving into other legendary figures who found enlightenment by embracing their shadows. Stay curious, stay whole, and remember, you're not trying to become someone else, you're trying to remember yourself. The shadow isn't your enemy, it's your teacher. And your Buddha nature, it was never actually lost.